I was like, oh God, it's due tomorrow.
You do your best homework when you're rushed.
1,000%.
So I'm helping you. Yes, ma'am.
It's so
I'm sorry. We're live.
I totally agree with you.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were.
Flew to California.
Why is it not lit?
So he's like, I'm like on a 4-hour time difference now. He's like, I'm all messed up.
No, it's not. It's not lit up.
But it's so true. The hours.
Did you press the button?
I did.
Let it
Well,
go.
I thought I did.
Well, you let the button go after you press it.
See?
There you go. Was it not plugged in?
I don't know. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, November 6th meeting, Long Hill Township Committee. Megan, would you please read the statement of presiding officer?
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting, specifically the time, date, and public call and information were included in the meeting that was electronically sent to the Echo Sentinel, Morris Daily Record, and posted on the township website. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at www.longhillnj.gov. A public comment periodically held in the order it is listed on the meeting agenda.
Thank you, Megan. Would everybody please rise, join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Megan, please take roll.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Here.
Committeewoman Riker-Eline?
Here.
Committeeman Verleza will not be joining us. Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Present.
Mayor Pasurgia?
Thank you, Megan. Present. I don't know if I said it was present. Item number 4, we're doing the proclamation presentation this evening?
Public safety update.
Public safety update.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He got excited.
So public safety update, Director Peoples and Officer in Charge Lieutenant Giambriella. And thank you for both being here this evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor, Lieutenant Chambrell and I took the opportunity to put a few notes together on what we've been working on over the past few months, and we're kind of going to work off each other here, so I'll start. I wanted to give you an update on how we're making out with our selection process. I did report, I believe 2 meetings ago, we had made 4 conditional offers of employment to 4 candidates. One candidate turned a position down. He took a position that was closer to where he lived. The other 3 candidates have all been through their pre-employment checks. They're all ready for the academy starting in January. I've spoken with Administrator Barr about they need to be appointed prior to attending the academy, and Administrator Barr is working on that. We took the opportunity to re-advertise for vacancies. We were really would like to target trained officers already. We received, we re-advertised for about a month. We received a positive feedback. We conducted some interviews last week, this week, and next week, and hope to have some recommendations for the Township Committee soon on that. Today, I participated in a pre-construction meeting for the paving of Northfield Road. There had been some discussion in past meetings about some mitigation opportunities at Valley and Northfield while we're doing the traffic study. Lieutenant Chambrell worked on securing a pedestrian crossing sign. I spoke to the township engineer today on the appropriate placement for that sign at the crosswalk on Northfield Road at Valley. And I spoke to Lieutenant Chambrella today on that. We're going to place that sign at the crosswalk on Northfield at Valley. Hopefully that will also warn motorists coming up to the stop sign that there is in fact a stop sign there. And obviously if there's any pedestrians crossing.
So the crosswalk itself is going east-west, west-east, not across Valley?
That's correct.
Because I thought to myself, that doesn't sound very
Right.
safe on Valley, but...
Right. And I wasn't sure, was that the resident that spoke about that? Was she referring
Right, when you
to
brought it to
across
me-
Valley, exactly. Like I keep thinking across Valley,
Right, so
but
to be clear for the public, it is east-west crossing Northfield.
Yeah, on
not
Northfield.
on Valley.
That is
which would
correct.
be incredibly unsafe.
That's
Right.
correct. So we'll see how we do on, hopefully it doesn't get hit too many times. If it gets hit, it just flops down and will flop back up. But hopefully that's an additional mitigation opportunity. A few months ago when I started here and I rode around at night, I was astounded about the amount of streetlights that were out in this town. Conducted a survey, there were 65 streetlights that were out. We worked along with Jersey Central Power and Light over the last few months. 63 out of the 65 have been repaired. There's
Right.
2 of them that still has some issues they're working on. And I believe those streetlights are costing about $12 a month for
Lit or unlit?
lit or unlit. So in addition to the public safety issue, we were paying for streetlights that were, not operable. I would give some updates on the police headquarters building. Another thing I kind of recognized when I first started is the building was a bit run down, the exterior, the interior. Al's staff has been helping us out on inclement days. He's been sending his crews to do some painting. So we're kind of picking off one room at a time. Today, after several months of going through the quoting process with Randy's help, we started to renovate second floor bathrooms. There's 2 bathrooms on the second floor that were constructed 23 years ago and haven't been touched since. So that's going to be a welcome, improvement for us. Again, when I started, the natural gas generator, if anybody's been behind headquarters, it's a huge generator. The old one was inoperable. We had a new one, but we kind of had to kickstart the project. So between Al and the contractor and Colette, that generator is online, and we had a power failure a couple weeks ago, and I was in the office, kept my fingers crossed, and the transfer switch worked. And so now we'll have power during a power outage. Some additional improvements. If you've been to police headquarters, you may have seen dumpsters in our parking lot where we throw our trash and recyclables. Unfortunately, they were unsecured. Had a gust of wind came along, it rolled the dumpster into one of the patrol cars and caused damage. We took the opportunity to fence in those dumpsters in order to make it more aesthetically pleasing, and then also secure them, not have damage. Down at our range, the backstop was in a state of disrepair. We had a fence company come in, replace the fence. Al's staff helped clear all the brush away, so we did a lot of nice tidying up of the range area. If I'm going on too long, just let me know.
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, but I do have one question.
Sure.
Just to give a perspective, and I have no idea what the answer is, and maybe you don't either, and Lieutenant, maybe you do, maybe you don't. 65 lights were out. Do we have any idea how many lights there are in town? Just to get an idea of percentage.
I do not exactly know, but I can get that information
Just out
from.
of curiosity.
that was
Sure.
a good question. Right? Was it half out or right a quarter? Or, yeah.
Right, and generally speaking, how has that, I remember years ago when Ken Fulliger, who's now Deputy Director OEM, he used to do that as part of his job. And I would see him sometimes when I was driving around town at night, he'd be looking at lights.
Right.
How is that process now, other than a one-off where you and maybe the lieutenant go? How's it going to be handled in the future so we don't end up with 65 lights out?
Excellent question. So we've instructed our patrol officers during routine patrol, if they notice a street light out, they are to call that into Jersey Central, Power and Light. Okay. A few months back, another thing I had observed is we had a lot of records that we were storing 20 years old, 30 years old. Working along with Megan, we were able to identify the records that we could destroy consistent with the Records Retention Act. So I think we were able to shred about 60 boxes. And ironically, just yesterday, she had reached out to me that we would like to, along with, I believe, some records here at Town Hall, we'd like to actually digitize those records. We've received some proposals from companies that can digitize township records, police records. We can then access them electronically. That will certainly free up some much-needed space at police headquarters. Last meeting, there was some public comment, I think it might have come from Mr. Liberato, about news releases and public information. I spoke to Lieutenant Chambrello after that meeting. Historically, we would usually issue news releases on a weekly basis. It's kind of migrated to more of like a monthly basis. I'd like to go back to a weekly basis, and then anything that's maybe of high interest, such as a home invasion, a multi-vehicle accident with injuries, a structure fire, anything else that maybe the residents in town, their attention is drawn to it from one reason or another. We would like to get that information out, as long as it doesn't jeopardize a criminal investigation, within like 24 hours after it
How
occurs.
would you release that?
We would release it through our media outlets. We'd also put it on our Facebook post, and I would probably, I'm looking forward to the township web site being revamped, because my understanding is department heads will have access to updating our particular pages, and then I'd like to post it on our the police department web page. In the last couple of weeks, the entire department received advanced arrest and search and seizure update training by the Morris County Prosecutor's Office, concentrating on contemporary search issues. They're always changing, so that's something that we need to be, on top of. You may have noticed the police cars. We used to, all the police cars except one were kind of like in a stealth mode. In discussing with the staff and just my personal philosophy, community-based policing, I feel it's important that when we're riding through the neighborhoods that our residents can readily identify the vehicle as a police vehicle. So we have markings on them. Not that we didn't have markings, that they were kind of a little more stealth, but now they're white, and you could see on the black backdrop of the car, you can readily see that it's a police vehicle. A few weeks ago, we responded to a medical call. It was an overdose victim. The officers that arrived quickly identified the victim as an overdose victim, administered Narcan. The victim regained when they first got there, totally unresponsive. The officers, again, identified as an overdose victim, applied Narcan, administered Narcan. The victim regained consciousness, subsequently transferred to the hospital for further treatment. I just mentioned this because it kind of came at the same time that we were participating with the local municipal alliance Save a Life Day, where our officers teamed up with municipal alliance members at police headquarters, and we actually handed out 18 Narcan kits to the public. The department, so the range has been, we have a local range. It's great for our training because we can do dynamic training versus static training. If we had to go to the police academy, you're kind of just standing in a gun port range of firing your gun. At our range, we can do a lot of static training. It's a great benefit to our training program here. But there's been some, noise complaints in the past. Our range officers right now, for two reasons, are researching equipping our rifles with suppressors, which is kind of like a silencer. One, God forbid we ever had to discharge the weapon without hearing protection. There's a good chance that the officer's hearing would be, affected, maybe even damaged. So a suppressor will cut the decibels down, and also when we do all our training, it will cut the noise down at the range. I personally went up to the Sterling Lake a few weeks ago as our range officers were testing these suppressors. I could clearly hear the rifle concussion at the Sterling Lake, because I believe, Randy, right, we had a complaint maybe from some residents up there. I could not even hear the rifle with a suppressor. So I think,
So would the suppressor be a permanent, I don't, maybe that's not the way to phrase it, part of the rifle?
It would.
Not just for training, but for.
exactly,
use.
exactly.
Okay.
So I hope to have some more recommendations on the best suppressor unit to, you know, to purchase. Lexus is going to take over here in a minute. Just two more things. I just think it's important also to bring to the committee's attention is that we do receive letters of appreciation from the public for our officers. Last month, we received 2 letters of appreciation from residents. Those officers are given a copy of those letters from the public, and it's also made part of their personnel file. Let me just see, did I miss anything? Okay, go ahead. So once you take those, and then take the LPR and the body worn cameras, okay?
In the past month, the officers participated in the trunk or treat, and they also participated in the Halloween parade, judging it. And then additionally, we did a community event with a coffee with a cop that was at Starbucks, which was well received. With regard to the body worn cameras, they phase out probably every 10 years or so, and there's always a new platform, a new version that comes out, and you have to keep getting it updated. So what we have currently is phasing out, and last year, Megan Gates and I applied for a small rural tribal match grant, and we actually acquired $22,000 to offset the cost of the body cameras for this year. And Director Peoples went through the process with Motorola to get to purchase those items, and they just actually came in last week. And Cliff Meros is going to be working with Motorola and IT to have those roll out. With regard to the ALPR, as of this afternoon, the last 2 of the 6 cameras are now up and running. So that happened just as of today. We just have to receive the training, and then that'll get deployed to everyone so that they can utilize that. It's been beneficial for stolen vehicles, and now they'll have access and be able to communicate with the rest of the county with regard to stolen vehicles as they travel through our county.
These are automatic license plate readers.
Yes.
Are they
Yes.
synced up with Warren and Berkeley Heights and Watchung too?
No, they have different vendors, but the goal, from what I understood, was eventually the state was going to completely integrate, and then they'll all be able to talk to each other. Lastly, the licensing was new in 2024, so we had 11 officers that had to go through the renewal process, so that's been completed and put through, and we just have to wait for that to get approved. I think that's it.
One thing I think you didn't mention is that Lieutenant Chambrella wrote the grant for the ALPRs. It was $72,000 with Millennium. Well, your signature is on it. So Township received $72,000 to implement that program. And to Committeeman Dorsey's point, we did look into maybe purchasing the same ALPR camera system that Warren and Berners Township had, because the county system, although it's very robust, a lot of good exchange of information, what affects crime trends that affect the rest of Morris County really don't affect necessarily Morris County. We're more in sync with the crime trends in Union County and Somerset County. Unfortunately, there was they had different types of camera systems, and they were actually more expensive. So we stuck with the original grant proposals. And just how, for the public and your information, how those work is that, a car comes into the town, let's say it's stolen or wanted, the county will get an alert, they'll run the license plate to confirm that it actually is stolen or wanted, and as soon as they make that confirmation, they initiate a command to our officers. It pops up on their MDTs that there's a stolen vehicle, just came in, let's say, Valley and River. County will confirm that with us. We have a good working relationship with Burns, Warren, and Berkeley Heights, and anytime their cameras hit a car that may be traveling into a stolen car in our town, they notify us. We're going to do vice versa. And it's going to be a real help for us because we had that home invasion a couple of weeks ago up on Long Hill Road. In all likelihood, there was probably a stolen car that came into the township. We're going to know that car, there's a stolen car floating around in our township, and we'll have a heightened sense of awareness. I think that's it. What do you think?
I do have one question, or.
I have a question.
Thank you. I don't know if it stopped or it's just, but it seems to have restarted the patrolling of neighborhoods. And I know, forget my role here, as a resident, I always appreciated, oftentimes 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd see lights go by, and it was a police car patrolling the neighborhood. And for me, there's a security, there's a comfort to that. And I was speaking to one of the officers at the Halloween parade. I was amazed at the number of miles on a shift that one of the officers will actually drive around on their, I don't
Section
know.
of the
Patrol.
town, right? Because it wasn't even the whole town, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Aubrey was there. So, thank you.
So it's interesting you bring that up, Mayor, because we had a staff meeting a couple weeks ago where, we were talking about our mission and our philosophy, and we're very, community driven. And, to your point is, I think the residents really like to see the patrol cars, in the neighborhood, hence one of the reasons why we marked up the cars to be, more visible. And we had a discussion about concentrating on our patrolling our residential areas, recording when we're patrolling the residential areas. So if you receive some positive feedback, maybe it came out of our renewed concerted effort of patrolling the.
Yeah, I mean, to point, it was comments made to me, but it was also personal observation. I said, oh, geez, I had forgotten, and I said, I missed that, and I'm so glad that it's been reinstated. So thank you, Lieutenant.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
All the updates that you mentioned, are they from like the last time we heard from you guys, or really kind of the past several months?
I would say the past, several months.
Well, 'cause I know like there's been like fencing put up and all that. That's
Yeah, I would say that, happened between probably, April and, October. I know the lieutenant and I being up here was, as a result, I believe of the township committee's, desire to have us kind of report on a monthly or every, couple months. We have a lot going on. This is, reflective of some of the work that we're doing every day.
we appreciate the updates. Thank you. And the coffee with a cop, I should probably know this. When is it? Is it posted like on the website? Should we be announcing it here? Like, how do you guys? It was on Facebook. Oh, that's probably why I don't see it. I don't do Facebook.
Okay.
Good to know. Thank you. But it was like we could announce it here if we wanted to. I mean, not that you want Matt or Vic or myself. Did you? All right. So I blacked out. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. That was great. The website.
Oh, I had one other question.
Website, is that something
was
that's imminent, or I didn't think I would know that?
Yeah, it'll be up by the end of the year.
Okay, that's
Got it.
That's great.
follow up on that. And then the other question was, you mentioned the letters of appreciation from citizens.
Yes.
Is that, like, I mean, not that we have to share all of them, but I don't know, I feel like bad news always travels faster than good sometimes. Like, and if there's, special things that our officer, I mean, I know our officers do special things every day, but getting those letters are also special and unique. If there's anything that can be shared that we can, make sure that the public knows about the appreciation or the outstanding efforts,
And the
and they're getting recognized, I think is a nice thing.
And we're
if we
hoping at the
can.
next meeting that we will have some recognitions of not only officers, employees also.
Yeah, because I think it takes effort from the citizens to write something, because again, it's so quick, I think a lot of times to critique versus celebrate. So I think it's great that citizens are taking the time to do that, and then also that the department is receiving these. So it's just something to celebrate and share if we can.
And the Narcan save is something, honestly, I didn't know about that, so that's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so thank you, guys.
Yes, I mean, I think if I could just comment on the Narcan application, I think it's just a testament to the officers, training, skills, knowledge, and ability. I think I had communicated with you, Mayor, a couple of weeks ago about a serious accident on Myersville Road, a head-on collision, and when the officers got there, there was one victim that was bleeding profusely, and the officer administered a tourniquet to, control the bleeding, and then, I had a couple other victims. So, I've commented before, the officers are very, well-trained, they know their job.
No, thank you both, and thank you
And
to
please-
the
please
team
give
for all that you're doing, yeah.
Collectively, from all
Yeah,
of us
yeah.
and from all the residents,
Yeah.
thank you.
'Cause
I can say to Aubrey's point, the feedback that I receive from residents regarding the police department is immensely positive. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
you.
very good.
All right, so here we go. Item number 5 on your agenda, ordinances. This is second reading for adoption. Ordinance 554-24, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of a conservation easement to Morris County in connection with the White Bridge Road Bridge Project. Jack, this sounds like a brief explanation from you.
Yeah, this is really a technicality. The White Bridge Road Bridge project is in wetlands, so the county has to give mitigating land, so we're giving a conservation easement on other land that can't be developed in any event. So it's really
Perfect.
just satisfy the technical requirements of the DEP rules.
Questions, comments from the Township Committee?
No.
I'd like to open it up to the public for comment or questions regarding this ordinance, 554-24. Seeing none, I'll close it, looking for a...
Online.
Oh, I apologize.
Anybody on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone there.
Thank you, Megan. So we'll close it to the public, looking for a motion to approve 554-24.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Dorsey?
Yes.
Committee Woman Riker in line?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Pacerno?
Yes. Ordinance 555-24, this is second reading for adoption, an ordinance establishing the promotion process for Chief of Police and supplementing and amending Chapter 2 of the Township Code entitled Administration. I don't know if, Jack, did you want to give an overview of what it is we're doing here?
Yeah, this establishes a process for promotion to Chief of Police. It involves the New Jersey State Police Chiefs Association as an outside agency to conduct both oral and written exams and to be part of the process, and it sets forth the scoring system and things like that. So it really formalizes the process for promotion to chief.
Thank you, Jack. That's a great summary there. Questions or comments from the Township Committee?
Yeah, I do. I have a few.
Fire away.
Jack, what was the model for this ordinance? Is this something that mirrors model ordinances from the state, or is this something that from other towns?
Yeah, this was drafted by Labor Council, and it's based on his experience in other towns, and it is a fairly common process for promotions.
Okay. And then I'm looking at under section 2-14.13.1 promotional procedures, item number 1. I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. So it says, in order to be considered for the rank of Chief of Police, the officer must be a member of the Long Hill Police Department and have held the rank of lieutenant or higher for a minimum of 1 year and/or sergeant for a minimum of 3 years, and must possess a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university to be eligible to participate in the process. So, how long, all right, so the way I read this, either a lieutenant or a sergeant can apply for this process. Is that a true statement?
Yes, as long as they meet the time and service requirements.
And, okay, and so lieutenant for at least 1 year and sergeant for at least 3 years. But how long do you have to be an officer before you can be a sergeant?
3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 years.
3 years. So a sergeant could move up to this role minimally in 6 years.
Correct.
And then how long do you have to be a sergeant before you can be a lieutenant?
I don't know. Director Peoples, is there any requirement for that? I mean, as a practical matter, it's not going to happen overnight, but 1 year?
1 year.
And remember, those are the minimum time periods. You know,
Right.
It's not going to happen on those dates.
Okay, so just to kind of rewind and re-explain this to myself again. So, from the point in time of an officer joining the department to being chief, there's a minimum runway of 6 years. Realistically, it's going to take a lot longer than that.
Correct.
The process is open to both lieutenants and sergeants,
Correct.
according to this. Okay. Second, there's a lot of talk in here about psychological examinations. Is this something that's now required or recommended by the state?
It's certainly universal.
It's universal. So is this, and is this tied into the licensing aspect as well? or
I'm not
not?
sure. I defer
No.
to, I don't think so, no.
Right, okay,
It's just it's a common police hiring and promotion requirement.
okay. And is the same psychological exam required for promotion to lieutenant or sergeant? Or is
Not
this
at-
just in the case
Not at
of
the present
chief?
time, I don't believe.
Okay. And then the background check. Is this also universal?
Yes. Or it should be.
Okay,
And if I remember correctly, that was part of the consultant study that said we should.
we should,
do it
yeah,
next.
you're right.
Yes. it
Okay,
was.
and then so the pass-fail basis, where is the bar set on the psychological exam? Is this coming from a license?
It's a professional, yes.
Okay, so
An
they're
outside
either saying
professional.
fit or unfit?
Correct.
Okay,
And it's a detailed, comprehensive.
They don't choose themselves, they have to go to where they're sent, so they'll go to the same person.
that's
Yes.
right, okay.
Yeah, so it's not arbitrarily applied.
Okay, so assume they pass all these hurdles, the time served, the psychological test, the background check, then this is going, written and oral examinations administered by the New Jersey Chiefs of Police Association.
Yes.
And the Township Committee, which may in its sole discretion consult with the Township Administrator and the appropriate authority, will then make a selection based on the results provided by the New Jersey. So what do the results look like? It says utilizing the rule of three. So our expectation is they would give us 3 qualified candidates to choose from?
Yes, and that's the procedure used by civil service.
Okay.
The township committee can choose any one of the top 3 candidates.
And the Township Administrator and the appropriate authority, in this case, the Police Director, the
Yes.
Public Safety Director, excuse me, they would have an opinion, a recommendation, but the Township Committee would then vote for the final decision from those 3.
That's right, the ultimate decision lies with the township committee.
Okay. Did I miss anything, or do I understand this?
No, I think it's fairly straightforward.
Okay, and the last thing, seniority shall prevail over residency in the case of candidates that are ranked equally,
Right, it's a tiebreaker.
is the tiebreaker. Okay.
That's great, Scott, I appreciate you going
Yeah.
through that.
Thank you.
I appreciate Jack explaining it, because this stuff is hard to understand.
So any other comments or questions? I still think 3 years as a sergeant's way too little. I mean, in reality, like I said, it could be a freak thing, but you could be the chief after being on the department for 6 years. So you can show up today, and 6 years from now you can be the chief. It'd be an odd example, but it could happen, and I don't think anybody's ready to run an organization, no matter what organization, if there's 6 years of experience, especially with all the specialized skill and training you need. And basically, more of it's just the in-the-field training, which is probably the most important thing.
And to Matt's point on that, that recommendation for the 3 years came from our Labor Council.
Yes,
And that was based on what?
just his experience as far as I know.
Okay. But that could be something that we could change in the future.
Of course, you can
We
always
could-
amend
we-
this ordinance.
Oh, I mean, just change it now. So you don't have to worry about it. I'd vote for 5, but a minimum, I'd like 10, but 3 is way too.
And I hear what you're saying, Matt, and instinctively, I would agree with you. The only thing, they're going through a very rigorous process to get recommended as one of the 3.
A lot of people are good on paper. Oh, I said a lot of people look good on paper. 6 years experience in
But it's
this
not
job.
just paper, there's oral interviews.
I get that, but 6 years, you need the time on the job. You need to be out there in the field. You need to be dealing with people in those situations. 6 years experience to run an organization of 120 people with all the rules and regulations they have to deal with on a regular basis. To me, it's just not enough time.
And I hear you, I'm just discussing it, not so much I have
No,
a
I know.
strong opinion one way or the other.
Yeah, I kinda-
But
I-
the people doing the process are experienced.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not worried about the
Police
people
Chiefs
doing the
Association.
process. I just
It's
don't
not this
think.
township committee that's doing it, it's the state police chiefs.
I would think that, that would certainly be a big criteria for the public safety director to opine on, as well as the administrator, and as well as us as well. I mean, it'd be a fair thing to compare, right? Because seniority shall prevail over residency. Well, seniority prevails over seniority that's less, right? We're not going to get 3 candidates that have 6 years of experience. I think the odds of that are slim and none.
Oh, no, I just don't want to prevent any of them. Forget about 3, any.
No, I hear what you're saying, Matt, and I'm just kind of going along with what the process seems to have come to. But again, Jack, as always, we can amend this. in the
Correct.
future.
And remember, the seniority provision is to get onto the list of 3.
Oh, even just to get.
That's
Because
only in
on
a
the
tie,
list of 3,
though.
It's totally discretionary with the township committee to appoint any one of those top 3 candidates.
But to get onto the list of 3,
Seniority will
fair enough.
bump somebody up.
In theory, though, you could have 3 people with less seniority.
You could.
And if so, why amend it? Why don't we fix it now and prevent the problem from happening? That's my position.
To move it to 5? Is that your
Yeah,
recommendation?
I don't think that makes sense, though. I don't think that makes sense, because the process itself prevents the problem from happening.
I agree.
I don't trust the process. It's like people slip through the cracks, and you don't even give them a choice. Then they can't even consider somebody unless they have the minimum experience, and you don't have to worry about anything else. Then they can't apply. So to me, it's why trust the process where you already put a safeguard in, and they abide by it, and we're good.
Well, let's do a little tabletop exercise with this, because you're going to have more sergeants with 6 years of experience than you are with 10 years of experience. So let's say 7 officers apply for this. What comes out the back end is going to be 3 of them, right?
Should.
And of those 3, what are the chances that 3 of them are going to have 6 years of experience? And if one of them has 6 years of experience and is an absolute rock star, why would we not want to at least interview that person? I think we'd want to.
I think unless you have somebody definite in mind, I'm still going
I have
with
no
5
one,
years.
yeah, I have no one definite in mind. I'm just saying, if we're going to talk in theoreticals, I think we want to see everything we can see, right? I don't see it as being a problem. I mean, I understand in principle Matt's concern, but this is another one of these things where I think we need to set the process and then trust the process and trust the people that we have running the process, right? Because we have the chiefs of police, we have Randy's opinion, we have Mike's opinion, we have the collective opinion of this committee, which we hope will do the right thing. I'm fine with it exactly the way it is, right? In principle, yeah, 6 years, that would be a yellow flag for me, but it wouldn't be one that I wouldn't want to consider that person solely because of that. So I'm done talking.
Yeah, okay, so I kind of agree with Scott, but I fully appreciate what Matt is saying. It's not like I think it's not logical. So Aubrey, welcome again to the,
I'm just doing research while you guys are talking. I'm listening. I do trust this process in terms of it being neutral coming from the New Jersey Chiefs of Police, so I'm okay with the 3. I do hear you about the length of time, so I'm like, I'd be okay if we moved it to 5. I can argue it either way. I'm just looking at the some statistics from New Jersey just to see.
I'm-
What
I'm-
else was coming up?
I admit I'm deferring to Labor Council who wrote it and made that recommendation. If he had written 5, I would probably agree with 5, to be honest. So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm married to 3.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as you.
Public? Second reading.
Yeah, second reading.
Let the public speak.
Yeah.
Motion.
So- No, we'll open it up to the public.
Oh, you're right.
So, let's open up the meeting to the public on this ordinance, and that is 555-24. Good evening.
Good evening. Charles Arenowitz, Millington. I left the meeting at the first reading where you guys and gal had a lengthy discussion on this 5-year, 6-year, 7-year, 8-year, 9-year, 10-year. I left the meeting thinking that we had it at 8 or 9 years. I read this ordinance, it's not there. If you replay the meeting, Attorney Pigeon recapped it. And we said more years than 3. We didn't mention 3 because that's the requirement for sergeant. But we said, no, you guys said at the last meeting you were comfortable with 8 or 9 years. Now we're back to 6. Please reread or rewatch the meeting. And it's not here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Ferrandino, 623 Chestnut Street. Question. How many on a day has it had a gun stuck in their face and been robbed? Just want to know because you're deciding on how a police officer has the ability to do his job, and yet you've never been in that position. Back to a police chief, someone who's walked the streets, who's been in very difficult situations, who's able to tell who's got the mettle to be out there to do the job. So again, I ask, who here has had a gun stuck in their face and been robbed?
I think you maybe missed what Scott and Jack were talking about. The process is run by the State Police Chiefs Association, not by this township committee.
And the same thing with all
Okay.
these specifics. They were
So what did the last meeting I was here, the bureau or the group of state police chiefs, Russo was his name?
Chief Russo.
Right. He suggested that we have a police chief that came through the ranks, that has the respect of his officers, and he's the one who should lead the department, which I believe is very important. Because again, back to doing the job, knowing the job, having the experience. Why was that totally disregarded? It was still without a police chief, correct?
but I don't think it, I mean, I don't think it was disregarded.
Do we have a police chief?
No, but that's what we're working on.
We're working on it.
We're putting it
Right
into
now,
place.
but we don't have one.
No, because we're putting it into place so we can have a police chief.
But we don't have a police chief. We don't have somebody who's in charge of our police force who has the respect of the officers that he's leading or she's leading. Correct.
Right,
Okay.
and that's the point of this process. And
And-
I think you're misremembering what Chief Russo said. Chief Russo didn't say promote somebody tomorrow. Chief Russo said, we will help with the process, which is in fact what this is codifying, or whatever the right word is, right?
And I would say today, the leadership of our police department is actually here right now.
Yes? And he is a civilian.
I said,
And Shake.
they're
Excuse
both
me?
here.
And Shake, officer in charge.
Okay, but we don't have a chief. We have an officer in charge and a civilian. And back to the duties that the civilian public safety officer can and cannot enforce. Cannot do the job of a police chief. Is that correct?
Do not address that.
Excuse me, Randy? He cannot what?
I said do not address that. That's personnel issues.
Do not address that. I love it. Have a good night.
You too, Jeff, thank you. Any other member of the public? I don't see anybody online, Megan?
Marianne Noonan would like to speak.
Absolutely. Mary Ann, would you please state your address and name for the record? We know who you are.
Okay. Marianne Noonan, Lackawanna Boulevard, Gillette. Mayor Patricia, I had sent you an email specific to everything that has been spoken on the dais. Okay, there's definitely a disconnect from what I heard at the last meeting in terms of duration with regards to an officer. The clarity in item 1 is not clear. Did you read my email?
Briefly, because I had a busy time at work. I'm trying to remember, what specifically did you just say, the duration? Meaning what?
The timeline with reference to an officer, whether they're a lieutenant and a sergeant. How
Right.
many years of service? That should be distinguished. That whole paragraph should have been broken in 2 pieces. It does not also address if someone was to be hired from another township. How much is that counted? Because to become a chief of police in Long Hill Township, you have to reside in Long Hill Township. And then I went further to look at the premise in terms of what the hiring procedures are with regards to our police force. You do not need a bachelor's degree. You need a high school diploma or GED. There is a major disconnect here, and I'm very confused, okay? And to the extent that there have been so many meetings regarding this, and if you had read the other emails that I have sent to the township committee, some in private, discounting Randy because he's a human, he's one of our
No, Marion, can I just say
township
one thing?
employees.
What you say in those emails needs to become part of the public record. You need to say it here. You know.
No, I do not.
Sending it to me is not going, it's not, that's one thing. But back to the thing about the GED or high school degree, it's up to individual towns to determine whether you need a college degree.
That's correct.
And this, for years, and Director People's Office, Chiambriello, Lieutenant Chiambriello, I mean, the idea that you need a college degree has been part of the process for 20 years, maybe longer.
So, Mayor Patricia, with all due respect, you just stated that you need a township, an officer needs a degree, but an officer could be hired without a degree. So in capture, it is stipulated in item 1 of that ordinance that you must have a degree.
Absolutely.
Okay? So my question at hand, and I do understand because we have older officers where maybe the guidelines did not stipulate that you needed a township, you needed a degree. I get it.
But we're talking
Okay,
specifically
but there's a
tonight about
disconnect.
chief, the position of chief, not an officer being
I
hired.
understand that. Read again. If you look at point 1, that needs to be very differentiated. Matt has spoken in terms of years of service. Okay, Scott as well. He's agreed to this ordinance, but he had questions about it.
Well, to be fair to Deputy Mayor Lavender, I think he walked through that process to make sure everybody understood. Scott was very aware of the answers to those questions.
He's totally aware. And with the
Again,
reference,
I'll
may
just
I please
reiterate what Mr. Pigeon said earlier. This ordinance was written by Labor Council in consultation with Jack. And frankly, I think it's pretty clear.
And Mayor Pacercia, unfortunately, you glanced through my email.
Again, you have
I would like to-
Mary Ann, you have the floor. Forget your email. You can state on the record what it is that you think is unclear.
I just have. Okay, and I will also stipulate whether Michael Peoples had a chance to read it, as well as our two presiding officers on the police.
Okay, thank you. Megan, anyone else?
Yasmin D. Giovanni would like to speak.
Good evening, Yasmin. So Yasmin,
evening.
it's on this ordinance at this point in the meeting.
Yes,
Okay, fire away.
yes. I'm surprised at myself too, but I was just curious when it comes to what Mr. Dorsey was saying and the discrepancy between a minimum he was suggesting a minimum of 5 years or 6 years, and Mr. Lavender was saying he'd prefer 3 years. I don't know. I just feel like in general, like the more you've been on a job and I guess the more experience you have, I feel like the better. And I don't know much about the rankings and stuff, but just hearing between the two arguments about more time, I don't see why that would be necessarily a bad thing to have more experience on the job, especially when you're being considered for some position as the chief. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
No, thank you. And again, I don't think that we can disagree with what Matt said. It's logical. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think where we came out is I agree with what Scott had said. The odds of reaching the conclusion of this through a rigorous process run by the State Police Chiefs Association. Remember, the Township Committee is not running that process. It's being run by the State Police Chiefs Association, who have vast experience in this matter, and in consultation. I know we keep calling Director Peoples a private citizen, but he's a former police chief with an enormous amount of experience in this matter. So by the time it comes to the Township Committee, it would be a rigorous process. So whether it's 3 years or 5 years as sergeant, if we discover it doesn't make sense, we can change the ordinance.
And I mean, I don't know, can I say, like, this wasn't made like in a bubble. There was consultations and input and research from multiple sides, right? Like, I don't know, like, what I'm supposed to say or not, but like, there was input. We've had discussions with, to Joe's point, because I know Joe might not be awake right now, but it was like, to your, I think, Joe, you brought up a really good point that it's, you're right, we don't walk, or I don't know, maybe other people do, walk the beat of being a police officer at all, which is why to do this, we did consult and look at standard operating procedure in other departments, as well as with the chiefs, as well as with our own leadership.
Do we also know what the surrounding towns like around us, because I know we like to compare, what they use their baseline for how long someone should be a sergeant
Personally,
for?
I do not, and I don't know about Matt.
No idea.
Matt Oslorick, okay. But one person definitely does, and that's our Labor Council.
Okay.
I would say
And the
probably,
State Police Chiefs Association.
I'd probably say Mike Peoples probably has an idea as well. Being
And,
chief.
and
Right.
Lieutenant
Look,
Chambrell.
my point on this is, the more we try to massage the requirements, acting like we know, when we've already consulted with the experts, the more we get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, we do exactly what we're being told not to do, which
Exactly.
is stick our
Nose into things.
And again, I just want to emphasize, it does say minimum, so I mean, again, we're not going to be able to define it to every single iteration. But I think, it says minimum, and again, there's a whole process. It's not just like, okay, you have 3 years, done. it's a whole process that goes around it. So that makes me feel a little better. And I think you guys
And
know
you
I
have
ask
to-
a
and
ton
you
of
have to-
questions, so I'm like,
And you have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You have to prove your mettle for this. Look, I want to be CEO of the company I work for, and I could be that tomorrow, but it's never going to happen. Right?
No, but sometimes setting the bar higher might come out with a better result, and if it's something that needs to be lowered, I would rather go on the side of more experience and more time on the job than I guess less. And then if it becomes a discrepancy, Scott, like that, Mr. Lavender, that you suggested, maybe then it's become, okay, maybe we lower it to 4 years or 3 years. But
Well, I think though, if I could step in there, you raise an interesting point. It's exactly where we diverge. Is having the bar where it is ensures we have more people to look at, not less. Raising it means we have less to look at. And again, the process itself will weed out the applicants that are not worthy.
Yeah,
Or
for
not
me, I
ready.
guess
I
I just
wouldn't
go
even
more
say that.
towards
Not
like
worthy, not
quality
ready,
than
however you
quantity,
wanna say
but
it. Yeah.
that's the difference of
Yeah.
opinion, I guess.
Yeah. No, it's a good
Thank
conversation.
you for your time.
Thank you, Yasmin. Appreciate it. Megan, at home? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to pass on second reading ordinance 554-24. Nope, no, I apologize. 555-24.
So moved.
Looking for a second.
oh, second?
Megan?
Committeeman Dorsey?
No.
Committeewoman Riker Iline?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchio?
Yes. Also, second reading ordinance 556-24, amending salaries, wages, and wages ordinance, I'm sorry. Randy, this is your world.
Yeah, this is just setting the salary ranges for various positions throughout the township that we do customarily every couple of years. So
Sounds-
that's what this is.
Sounds fair. And Randy, since we're on this, before we discuss it, this committee, I forget when, 6 months, whenever it was, we asked you to do a survey of salary ranges for these positions. And you put an awful lot of work into it, brought a lot of data back to the township committee. So these ranges weren't just chosen out of thin air. There was a basis for,
Certainly.
based on towns that look like Long Hill, size, et cetera.
Right, and the market, the responsibilities, a lot goes into it. What the position actually is, department head position or lower level position. So there's a lot that plays a factor into these salary ranges.
Yeah, I got a question for you, if I can ask Randy a
Absolutely,
question.
of course.
So I assume the reason that we change these ranges is so we can be competitive when we go to hire personnel, right?
Correct.
And have there been instances where we haven't been able to get who we wanted to get, or maybe we've lost people because we haven't been able to be competitive?
The majority of the people that leave for more money, doing the same job just with another town.
And do we do exit interviews with them?
I have done exit interviews with the people. I can't speak before me.
But is what you're saying that the main reason you get in those interviews is salary was not competitive?
Correct.
Okay.
And if I could add a nuance to what Scott just pointed out, the time to treat an employee fairly is while they are your employee, not when they've now been approached by another town. And this is a project that we started discussing 3 years ago. And we knew that we were, in some instances, not competitive, and I think in some cases there were hometown discounts offered by some of our employees who were very valued. And we wanted to make sure that we objectively paid our employees. We happen to be in a good financial situation, and I think that's what jump-started this conversation again. And so again, Randy, this didn't happen last meeting. This is something you've been working on for quite some time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess, again, I just want to emphasize, we've been going through it comparatively, all the different ways to make sure we're comfortable with the rationale and
The
the
ability
ranges.
to pay for it.
And the ranges that are being set,
That's well
comparatively.
said.
Well, this is just setting the ranges.
Correct.
As far as what the salaries are, that depends on who we hire. We don't have to hire.
Correct.
We choose to hire.
Correct. And again, these ranges I feel comfortable with because we did all the background checking, both as a team and then individually.
I have no issue. The thing that people might not know is a lot of our employees are severely underpaid compared to all the towns around us. So if you see a bigger percent raise, that's most likely get them where they should be to begin with, because we got them at, as Guy said, a discount for whatever reason. So sometimes you'll see a higher percent raise, and that's the only reason really explained.
Yep, and I would say also with that, we looked at it comparatively to towns around us, as well as comparatively to towns that are more apples to us in terms of scope of work and number of population.
Size, yeah.
I just feel like it wasn't just saying like, okay, because a town next to us might be 3 times the size or half. So just to level set that we looked at those ranges.
Thank you, Aubrey. So the township committee's okay? So let's open the meeting up to the public.
Well, this is just first reading?
No, the second reading.
It is
Second
second
reading.
reading, okay,
Second reading
good.
adoption.
Yeah, so 556-24, amending salaries and wages ordinance. So for members of the public who are present.
As I brought up once before, Joe Ferrandino, 623 Chestnut Street, Sterling. As I brought up before, we had Frank Reggio talk about Union County, their public safety director, 113,000. I don't know what their population is. My friend Harvey Rosef is on the, what is it? The commission for Byram, and his public safety director gets $13,000 a year. They have 8,000 people population, similar to Sterling. And my question again is, why our public safety director gets paid $217,000 a year?
Well, to be quite honest with you, there's no change in the salary range here. So I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking why other towns, we're going to talk about salaries.
This is a salary wage ordinance setting the ranges, which if you look at the paperwork that was given out, the public safety director has a range of 175 to 235 that was determined a while ago. There's no change in that.
And that assessment was made in comparison to what townships, what municipalities? Because again, Union County got a hell of a lot more population than Long Hill Township. Paterson, New Jersey, got a hell of a lot more crime and population than Long Hill Township. So what was the criteria for making this decision?
We can have this conversation every meeting. The Township Committee unanimously, at the time, agreed to what you have described. And
Pay
And we're
Mr.
not gonna change
Peoples
it.
$213,000 a year.
Right. And to Randy's
wasn't
point,
here for that,
it's
so.
not the subject.
You're
Sorry.
safe. Go
I
ahead.
wasn't here for that.
Yeah, I know.
It
You're
was before
safe.
my time.
So again, back to assessment of salaries. What's the criteria that we're basing the assessment of our employees in comparison to other employees in other municipalities in the state of New Jersey?
I can't speak to the challenges that exist, the breadth of work that is being required. There's one thing I can assure you, $13,000 is, I don't know what that person does, but it would be minimal.
Public Safety Director.
Titles don't tell me, it doesn't tell me
That's the
anything.
title.
I understand. There are titles.
8,000 people.
I
Byram
understand.
Township.
I
New
don't know-
Jersey.
I don't know what their responsibilities are.
Okay,
I can speak for Long Hill, I cannot speak for Byram Township.
okay.
Thank you, Jeff. And please, I mean, there's a part at the end of the meeting that is for comment on it. The only comments that we're looking for right now is on this ordinance, salary ranges.
I thought I was on point.
No, I'm not,
All right, keep
I'm
going.
just pointing that out.
Joe's a lot bigger than I am. Anyway, Charles Renowitz, Millington. Part of the discussion at the first reading was, we're doing this salary range so we don't have to revise it all the time, and we're going to give wide ranges so we're in sync going down the road, and we don't have to do these first and second readings. My question tonight is any position in the township approaching that top range?
Randy?
Sure, there would be, yes.
Well, I was under the impression from the first reading that we're making these ranges so we don't have to do this every time.
You're
And if
absolutely
someone's
correct.
approaching the range, why didn't we make the range wider?
You're absolutely correct. And I tried to do this so that we don't have to come back every year. Things change, people leave, new people come in. The market tends to get changed. This was introduced prior to a finalization of a resolution that's on later in the meeting. We are not exceeding any limits.
If we have, based upon what's going to happen later in the meeting, if we have people approaching the high range, why don't we revise this in this session so that we don't have to do this again in 8 months or 10 months? Whatever positions they are.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask the legal question. If we change one or two of these limits, does that materially change the ordinance where we would have to have another hearing, or is this?
In my opinion, yes, you would have
Okay.
to continue the public hearing on the ordinance as amended, which means you couldn't adopt the resolution setting individual salaries at this meeting.
Okay, so I would recommend to this committee not to change anything from this ordinance.
And so,
And we could entertain it next year.
Randy, you've been an administrator, you've been a CFO for many, many years. Changing salary ranges is a fairly regular thing, right? This isn't exceptional what we're doing.
No,
Right,
in
or
fact,
that's a question rather than a statement.
yeah, I mean, in fact, this is minimal. These are minimal changes, so
And it will probably happen again next year, I would think.
it may very well happen next year. I would think that it probably would.
Thank you.
I was under the impression that we were, in your executive sessions, we've had salary discussions the last 2 or 3 meetings, have we not?
Yeah, that's probably.
So I'm just concerned on the timing of the discussions of employee salaries with these ranges, and if we had people in positions that are approaching the ranges, we're in these discussions, why didn't we change them?
Again, it's a range.
I can't hear the conversation.
So, it's a range. We won't hire somebody at that rate.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
The problem generally arises when we're hiring someone new, and if they're offered a salary higher than the salary range, then they have to wait to start employment.
Correct.
Because the proposed salary doesn't fit within the ordinance.
Has to be introduced, has to
It's
be-
easy to amend the ordinance with respect to current employees, but it's more in the case, because it takes a month to adopt it. So as I say, if you're hiring someone new and they're outside the salary range, or you hire someone in a salary that the salary ordinance is hourly, you run into problems.
So how many employees do we have, based on later discussions, that are at the high end of the range?
I would say there's two positions here that would probably need to be changed next year.
Okay. Next question. The range for the township administrator, is that appropriate? didn't change. I'm saying based upon what we're paying or whatever we're doing, is that the appropriate range?
All right, so my response to that is, I can answer it because we're specifically talking about the administrator, CFO.
No, the administrator.
I understand that.
Administrator is
The-
75 to 180.
Right. So our administrator, CFO, one person performs both roles. Roughly speaking, CFO, a quality one with experience, is about $130,000 a year. An administrator with experience is roughly 160, 170. So to answer your question, I would contend, and also in both cases have pensionable salaries and health benefits. So to answer your question,
Right.
is it appropriate? It's very appropriate.
Okay.
And in fact, it's a great deal for the township and for the taxpayer.
And this
Let
would
me-
come into play under the current arrangement. This would only come into play
If we hire.
Randy's
if we
replaced at
hire a
some point in the
full-time
future
employee.
with a direct employee.
Correct.
Mr. Pigeon, you're very familiar with the township of Burnasville.
I am.
What's the range for township administrator?
I'd have to look.
I'll help you.
Oh, okay, thanks. You've already done my homework.
The current new salary for the township administrator in Burnasville is $194. Is that a comparable?
Administrator.
Township administrator,
Okay.
that is correct. That's what I said.
No, I was
My
asking a
question is that town comparable to ours?
Very similar in a lot of ways, yes.
Okay. But the range, well, I don't know what the range is. I know what the compensation is this year, it's 194. I don't know the range because I didn't do my homework on that. So let's assume she's in the middle of the range. So I'm going to come back and say, you contend that the 180's a good number for us. I'm not so sure it is.
It may not be.
Right? I think it's not. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Members of the public in the courtroom. Seeing none. Megan?
Mary Ann Noni would like to speak. Mary Ann? Mary Ann?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Quick question. With reference to the salary range, now, I don't know if this is appropriate for me to ask this question at this time or during the comment period after the meeting, but these are my questions. Number one, do we have an HR consultant?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's difficult. Okay, thank you. Number two, do we have professional performance reviews for our employees?
Yes.
I'll let Administrator
Yes.
Barr answer that question.
Yes, we do.
Randy, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Lastly, typically in a corporate environment, which I grew up in, part of the performance reviews are goals outside of your regular jobs. I have seen specifically one township employee who she has gone out of her way, okay, and she happens to be sitting there, to implement and streamline her job. Okay? So in essence, with reference to goals, are goals included in these performance reviews?
Yes.
Because if you, okay. So to summarize, within these salary ranges, any promotions or salary increases will not only be based on how you perform on your daily duties, but also outside of the goals that you have put in that you would accomplish for the year, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Megan, anybody else at home?
Anybody else on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone now.
Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve ordinance 556-24 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Megan?
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeewoman Riker Line?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchio?
Yes. So, item number 6 on your agenda, consent agenda resolutions. We are going to poll 24-284. We're waiting on a few more details. So, any resolution that a member of the Township Committee needs to poll for further discussion or needs to recuse themselves?
I'm sitting out of 24-282, the rec basketball salary range.
Okay. Anyone else?
I just have to figure out which one it is, sorry.
276.
Oh, it's up higher than I thought. Okay, yes, then the Bills one, yeah.
Anybody else? Scott?
Nope.
All right, so looking for a motion with the recusals, 282 for Matt and 276 for Aubrey.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeewoman Riker Line?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchio?
Yes. Committee reports, Aubrey, can we start with you? And
Wait, can I go
Lisa
first?
sent
I
in.
gotta leave.
All right, and Lisa sent, who has the rec report?
I gave it to
I do.
Ray.
You do, okay. So fire away, Matt.
I have nothing to report except if you want to look at the Bernards Township Health, it's bernardshealth.org, has their monthly newsletter out for November. There's some exciting things going on, so if you want to know about them, please go to bernardshealth.org. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
All right.
All right, yeah.
Nothing here.
Matt, have a great evening.
Thank you. See you later.
Should I start
Aubrey.
recreation?
Aubrey, go ahead.
Right, you want me to do recreation first, right? Okay, that's what usually thing happens. Okay. So, the gray ghost, aka Northern Harrier, was photographed by Ed Zindel of Myersville in the swamp this past week. This is considered a photographer's coup, as the gray ghost is extremely rare. This past week in recreation, we held a babysitting training class where 16 new babysitters were trained on how to handle all sorts of activities and safety issues that come up when babysitting. It was a great class. We also wrapped up all of the travel basketball team tryouts, and teams are practicing now, getting ready for their seasons. We met with our playground manufacturer and installer. The playground construction should begin the end of November and be completed the beginning of December. We're so excited for the new playground and a woodland gnome fairy theme. Our fall yoga programming at the Old Millington Schoolhouse is still ongoing on Mondays and Wednesdays. Saturday recreation basketball programming will now start on November 23rd, or will start on November 23rd. I added the now, sorry. I don't want anybody to think it changed. Okay. Adult basketball registration is still open for anyone who would like to play pickup basketball in the gym at Central School. All players must pre-register for the program on Community Pass. The program runs on Thursdays from 7:30 to 9 p.m. when schools are open and is running now through May 1st. Next slide, please. Thank you. A Look to the Sky is our current photography contest. Free entry of up to 3 photographs on Community Pass now through January 15th. Whether it is a beautiful sunset or sunrise, a comet, northern lights, a special moon, a starry night, interesting cloud formations, a rainbow, etc. There's a lot to see in the sky lately. We cannot wait to see your submissions. So again, that's on Community Pass. 3 photographs can be submitted now through January 15th, just to reiterate that. Okay. Coming soon, Letters to Santa campaign. Start behaving now. Holiday cookie decorating contest, holiday house/business decorating contest. And then please watch the website for more details and jump in on the fun for these specifics. Also, please mark your calendars for the Myersville tree lighting Sunday, December 1st at 5 p.m. Apparently, I'm having trouble reading the rest of these. I'm sorry. Okay, next slide. Our Don't Be a Litterbug campaign continues. We will continue to harp on this until it is no longer a problem. Oscar the Grouch still has some concerns. And finally, we are always looking for new members on our Recreation Advisory Committee. Raise your hand and get involved. We'd love to hear from you. Contact the Recreation Department for more information.
And I apologize, that wasn't the most updated one. There are two pictures here. It's our Watchung Hills
Yay,
hockey team.
field hockey, woo!
Yeah, finished up their season this past weekend. Our 7-8 team went to the playoffs and had a great season. They played two very exciting and close games this past Sunday, coming 5th overall of 21 teams.
Mead Briggs.
Nice. Yeah, he does the field hockey, and it'll be great because the 8th graders will be going hopefully to Watchung Hills to fill in on their field hockey team.
And I recognize the coach. That's former Deputy Mayor Mead Briggs.
He's been doing it for years. It's great. All right.
Thank you, Mead.
Should we do the library ones next?
Yes.
Are there slides for those or no? Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to put pressure on you, Megan. Megan, slides! Okay. The Long Hill Township Library is open 7 days a week, including 10 to 2 on Saturdays and 1 to 5 on Sundays. Next week, we're going to have a pop quiz for those that come to the township meeting every week, or every time. We're going to have a pop quiz on those hours. All right, slide 2. Please find here the library's weekly schedules of programs and events, one for kids and one for adults. There's all sorts of good stuff happening. Then, the library hosted many Halloween-themed crafts and stories, including Book-O-Ween, pictured above. Kids had fun dressing up, marching in a costume parade, playing games, making crafts, and listening to spooky stories. Super cute. All right, where am I? Okay, the library hosts 2 off-site silent books clubs. Bring any book you like and read in contented silence with other book lovers. Guy and I obviously can't go to that. We would fail. We'd be kicked out. Anyway, throughout November, the library celebrates, can I ad-lib? No. Throughout November, the library celebrates dinosaurs with the mash-up called Dino-Vember. First, we will build dinosaur skeletons with 160 foam dino bones. Next, we will read stories about dinos and dig for fossils. On November 23rd, we will host a show featuring paleontologists and the 8-foot Triceratops skull they discovered in 1996. Check with the library for more details. That's exciting. Oh my God, look. Okay. We have free line dancing class and Mahjong club for adults on Fridays, plus an additional Mahjong instructional class on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Fridays are drop-in, but please call ahead about Tuesday's Mahjong class. I want to do that class with Grace, but I can't do it at 10 a.m. on. And most this is really good, just sidebar, because I have been looking into Mahjong classes. A lot of times you can go and play, but nobody wants to teach you. So it's really exciting if anybody has any desire. It's great that our library is offering that. Okay, next, sorry. The Friends of the Library are hosting 2 fundraising events for us. A holiday market with local artisans selling arts and crafts and a shredded event. The holiday market will run from Friday, November 8th to Sunday, November 10th. The shredded event will be on Saturday, November 9th in the parking lot. And that is it. Thank you, Megan, for being slide guru.
Scott?
Yep, I'm good.
Thank you. So just one, NJ American Water kindly, at our request, gave us an update. There's about 30 bullet points that they presented. I don't know if anybody really wants to go through them point by point, but the upgrades, the updates, et cetera, are on schedule. The target date for the lifting of the sewer ban contractually is October of 2025, so less than 1 year from now. And so it's just the result of the sale of the sewer system, which was October of 2020 when the contract was sold. So it's a 5-year upgrade process, and it is in motion. And Megan, I believe we invited Kyle Mithassel. He's going to come December, or is he?
He was going to come December 11th, however, he has a schedule conflict, so we have him scheduled for early next year. But the New Jersey American Working Group is going to meet sometime in November or early December.
Perfect. So I know we've discussed this in the past, and we're going to have more detailed conversations in public in rapid fire now, because the target date is fast approaching. One of the goals or requirements of the sale of the sewer system, of course, was to accommodate what was COA, then fair share, and I don't know what we call it now. well, but we'll just call it fair share housing. And there's a whole bunch of other things that have gone into it, 3 new and upgraded filters, et cetera, and I can go through them. And NJ American Water is working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife regarding permits, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have a more detailed update from NJ American Water, and we'll probably do that almost on a monthly basis now because this is going to progress pretty quickly. Okay. Next up, the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have 2 quick updates. Speaking of New Jersey American Water, they are out doing, if you will, test pits or test core samples, various locations throughout the town. So if you do see a truck that's doing a core sample that's not in the roadway, it'll probably be off the road in the easements. That is also in preparation of continuing to work with the New Jersey sewer, the Long Hill Township sewer expansion. Public service, gas lines are well on their way. They are done with most streets in the streets for the gas line itself. They are doing service connections to the house. I believe they have 2 more streets to do for the gas line in the street, but please check the township's website. We keep that updated on a weekly basis of where they are, what they're doing, and what they're working on. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Randy. So now, discussion, no, we don't have any discussion items for this evening. Old, new business? None. Announcements. Friends of the Library Shred It Day, November 9th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., just outside the library here. The holiday tree lighting, what was the date?
December 1st.
December 1st, okay. 5 p.m. And as always, that thing starts on time, and so be there. I believe we will have pretzels again. Scott, does that sound?
Right now.
That's the rumor.
That's the rumor, okay. The volunteer dinner, we have, 250 incredible volunteers in this town, probably more. Megan, do you know the date of the volunteer dinner? Yeah, that sounds right, actually. December 4th. Monday is Veterans Day. We should honor our veterans every day of the year, but especially on Monday. So please keep them in your prayers and of course, your hearts.
November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday, just saying.
Okay, what?
I said November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. It always happens. It's obviously right by.
It's November 10th. Okay, so
10 November, yeah.
So it's easy to remember there. And I heard
Yep.
somebody in the audience out there, and I think that must have been Mr. Rentowitz. And of course, it's an unusual situation because of the way the calendar works. We will not be meeting again in public till December 11th. So, happy Thanksgiving. God bless everybody. And now the meeting is open to the public on any topic.
Good evening, Frank Liberato, Millington. I first wanted to say thank you for the Public Safety Director and the officer in charge giving the presentation tonight. It was great to hear everything that's been going on, kind of getting updates on things. So it's nice to see, and hopefully it'll be something on a regular basis so we keep in the loop. It was really good to see a lot of the accomplishments and things that have gotten done so far. As far as the ordinance that got passed tonight for the chief selection process, is it safe to assume that, now that process is going to start relatively soon and maybe even have a timeline if it'll take a year to complete the process? Do we have maybe some parameters?
Well, I think we're discussing it with the Police Chiefs Association, so nothing is set in stone just yet. But now that this ordinance is passed, I think it'll move pretty rapidly. We have a good relationship with the State Police Chiefs Association.
So they've been helping out and working with you guys?
We will,
which
and
is
I
important.
randomly ran into a police chief at an event, regardless of what it was. So we're back on track.
That's good. And then the last question is, in regards to I guess, handling whatever details how to get worked out with the prosecutor's office. Is that all taken care of now as far as with duties and positions regarding the public safety director's position? Is that all taken care of?
As far as I'm concerned, it is. Is that sufficiently vague?
Yeah, it's a very, very well
I think-
answer, a well-polished politician answered that question. Almost a lawyer would have said that. But
No, how dare you?
Yeah, yeah.
I take offense
Don't
to
want to
that.
insult Jack, though.
It's okay, Frank.
So is that something you think will be resolved, in your opinion,
I do.
before the end of the year?
I do. Yeah, it was never as contentious as it appeared. It's just,
We're taking
I
a
think
step.
in
Word
tell-
can be strong in writing, so when you read it, it kind of, you know.
well, as you said, lawyers.
Yeah. All right, so at some point, that's coming to a head.
Some point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anybody else? I see Mr. Rentowitz coming. Happy birthday to the Marine Corps, and thank you for your service, Chuck.
Thank you very much. I reminded the students at Burnett Township what was happening when we were talking about the Declaration of Independence. The Marine Corps was founded 8 months before that. Anyway, Charles Renowitz Millington, first, congratulations to Guy and Aubrey on their
Thank you, Chuck. I
win
appreciate that.
yesterday.
Thank you.
Officially now, you're
I
an
know.
elected official, not appointed. And
Thank you.
no questions, just comments.
So I'm not going to respond, all right, Chuck? This
Thank
time,
you.
I'm going to turn
Thank
this
you.
off, okay?
Thank you.
That starts now.
2 special meetings ago, I recommended that you hold individuals responsible for the problematic employment agreement for the public safety director and the creation of the position to be accountable and responsible for their actions. In my opinion, this employment agreement represents a dereliction of duties with negligence and possible gross negligence. Some of you know what the conditions are for that, and I won't get into that, but if you're interested, I could get into that. The person or persons must be held accountable through either termination, resignation, firing, or a possible lawsuit over their performance. These possible candidates to be held accountable are the labor law firm of Plosnia Cohen LLC. They were spoken of very highly today about the ordinance with the police chief. I don't have that confidence that you have. After opening all the correspondence between them, the township committee, and the prosecutor's office, they created a lot of the problems, in my opinion. So they're one candidate. The other candidates are township administrator, the township attorney, and or members of the township committee. You must act now about this agreement. I don't want anybody hiding behind a settlement agreement, which has happened before in this township. So you've had 2 months, and I've heard no action on the problems with this agreement. And no one's been fired, no one's been asked to resign, and no suit has been filed on our behalf. Thank you for your time, but I'm looking more importantly for the actions recommended.
Thank you, Chuck. Any other member in the public in the courtroom? Seeing none, Megan.
Marion Noonan would like to speak.
I'm back on.
Yes.
I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Renowitz just brought up a topic, and it's regarding a settlement agreement with regards to litigation. I had posed and I put out a email to the township regarding a resolution that was put out. I did get the appropriate response from Megan and then Randy. Then until the minutes were passed, the resolution that was signed would not be put out to the public until the minutes were approved. Does this pertain to this litigation?
That was the special meeting that we had prior to this meeting.
Yes.
It was.
Yes.
Those are executive session meeting minutes. The meeting minutes were approved tonight. You can request the executive session meeting minutes, but they will be redacted if it's an ongoing issue. The other regular session meeting minutes will reflect the time that the meeting opened, if anybody made a public comment, what resolutions were passed, and when we went into executive. And those
Okay,
will
thank
be on
you.
the website.
But does this pertain to the litigation that was just spoken about?
Potential
It was
litigation.
potential litigation, and it was discussed in executive, so you can request
Yes.
executive session meeting minutes. However, they will be redacted if it's an issue that's going on.
Personnel related? Okay, so I could put an Oprah through?
If you want.
Okay. Okay, next question. With regards to the GCA coming out with their estimates in terms of affordable housing, initially, I think I had probably sent everyone an email that the thought was that it would be 108 affordable housing units for Long Hill Township. Now, it's currently 106. So the attorneys I obtained that data from were pretty much on the mark. A very basic question. Do we have affordable housing credits to carry over for round 4? And then Mayor Patricia, to your point, I will have to now put this open to the public. You just mentioned that the New Jersey American Water, the sewer ban lifts will be October 2025.
But that's the
In that
target, by,
case-
by October 2025. It could be sooner and probably will be.
Okay, but will this be conditional in terms of us delaying the affordable housing mandate 4th round? And how many credits do we have to carry over?
I'm going to let Jack answer that.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact number of credits, but we will have some credits carried over from Lansbury Meadow. Yeah, and we also have some group homes, which aren't credits per se, but they have been created, so they will be part of our 4th round. We've just started, the Township Committee created an Affordable Housing Committee. That committee's about to meet and discuss all of these items. With respect to the sewer ban, yes, we do have a durational adjustment, they call it, for those units that can't be built because of the sewer ban, and that durational adjustment will run out once the ban is lifted.
And I just add a little color to what Jack said. When he says, I don't know the exact number, it's not that we don't know the number or a number.
Oh,
It's that we haven't been
obviously.
directed by Fair Share, or whomever that body is now, how many credits will be able to be carried forward by Lounsbury, how group homes will be accounted for. So we know we have credits, we just they haven't been defined
Yeah, and
by
we'll
Fair
obviously
Share.
take advantage of all the credits and bonuses we can to mitigate that number.
Correct. My guess is it'll be somewhere between 30 and 50.
30 and 50, okay. Jack, you just mentioned that I believe it was you.
Yes,
that
it
the township just created an affordable housing committee. Who's on that committee? And would I be eligible to be on that committee? This is the first time I've heard of it.
It was created by the Township Committee. It's all township officials at this point in time. At some point in time, it may be broadened, but these initial discussions, it's a member of the planning board, 2 members of the Township Committee, I believe, the administrator, the township planner, and me.
Okay, thank you. Then one last question. This is actually for Randy. With reference to the new website, I do have one specific question. I do have a lot, but I don't want to hold up everyone. The new website, there's an incredible search engine capability on that website. Okay, do we know that this is still going to be available? Because there's a ton of historical data on there. Yes, and it can be used against us or for us, but I do tend to use that when I cannot find information readily. It's like a godsend.
Yes, the intention is absolutely, we're gonna continue with that search engine, and quite honestly, we're gonna fit as much historical data as possible. It won't be accessible on front pages, but it will be accessible.
Okay, so in essence, Randy, you just stated that it should be exactly the same as it is.
Pretty much, what we're doing is trying to take it and mirror it over, and then we're gonna make some modifications once it's up and running.
Okay, and can I ask one more thing? In light of the fact that you're going through this process, and I don't know what the contract was based on in terms of hours, or if it was just a standard contract with the designated amount of money in terms of the conversion. Would they be able in any way to take that data and sort it by date order?
I'm not the best IT person, but I think that would certainly be doable, and I'm writing down a note to find out from them. I don't see why that couldn't be done.
Because that would be fantastic. You know, a lot of this history, you could Oprah all you want, but unless you know what you need to Oprah, you can't find data. But for a search engine, for me personally, as a resident, I find it to be a fabulous tool. And also one more question. With regards to all the township employees, the Long Hill Township Police Department, has everyone been privy to the tutorials and to the demonstrations with regards to the website? And has there been anything postured with employees putting their input in writing in terms of how their jobs may be streamlined? And I'll put one case in point. I was a little befuddled about the amount of time that Megan was spending on the Gillette train station. Her capabilities are far surpass her having to do this type of clerical work. So kudos to Megan. But has anything been defined in terms of streamlining processes? Because when you're giving a demo, and I've designed platforms, trading platforms, this is a time, this is a chance for the employees to really think like, hey, let me get this clerical garbage off my desk. Okay, so my question is, has anything been put forward with regards to this?
Sure, we've done actually
Sorry, Randy.
we've done quite a bit of streamlining this year with payments online, having access to various forms and applications online. So not just we've done that across the board with many departments, and we're looking to continue that. As far as the training on the website and everything, yes, all the department heads will be trained on that to be able to put, if you will, real-time data information where if the public safety director finds that he needs to put something at 3 a.m., he's not calling me in the morning. He can do it himself. So, that is going to be one huge benefit that we'll get. So, I agree with everything you're saying, and yes, we look at that continuously.
Okay, maybe if we could do that in advance and maybe do a prep you know, when the township employees, you know, are reviewing this, you know, maybe a form in terms of what they see, in terms of what could be streamlined from the mundane, boring, you know, daily duties that they may have, believe me.
It's a process.
You know, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. And the other last question is with regards to the SDL portal, is this still going to be utilized, or has the League of Municipalities changed or mandated a different type of portal?
There's several different types of portals out there similar to SDL, but you know, we do look at these various portals to see how we can take advantage of different technology through those types of platforms. Currently, we do have SDL, and we are actually putting more and more information on the SDL. So if we make any kind of improvements to different platforms and everything, all that information would be transferred over to the new platform. But if I get what you're asking, we will continue to use SDL or a similar platform.
Okay, because with the SDL platform, I think it would be a lot of streamlining. You know, Megan doesn't have to personally, or maybe she just has to push a button. Okay, you know, or whoever in the township. I'm pointing at Megan, but I know that you know, Deborah Coons has to do it as well, and you have to do it as well. But you know, it would be very easy just to simplify it, just to acknowledge when someone puts a request in and where they could look for it.
Thank you,
That's all I
Mary.
have.
Thank you, I appreciate
Have a
it.
need, everyone.
Anybody else at home?
Anybody else on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. I don't see anyone there.
Seeing none, so before we leave, happy Thanksgiving, God bless everybody, thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
I did a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned. Hold on,
Aye.
you waiting for this?
I'm supposed to say aye or yes?